Hi, this is Tanja, and in this video, I'm going to share some tips on how to reduce your supermarket bill. It's no secret the prices in the supermarket are going higher and higher, and just when you think they can't go any higher, they're actually going higher. Today, I just want to share some tips which you can implement on your next grocery run to see how much you can actually reduce your bill. You don't have to try to occupy yourself with doing all of the tips all the time, but if you implement a few of them, I'm sure that you can actually reduce your supermarket bill. Number one, buy generic brands. I know there are some of us who are brand loyal and we think of certain brands when we think of certain products. Like you may think of bleach and you automatically think Clorox, you think of ketchup, and for you it may be Heinz. There are some products out there that you can actually use the supermarket brand because the quality of them is pretty much the same as the name brand. Not all of them, and I'm not asking you to give up those products that you know for sure, like cereal, that you know for sure that the store brand is nowhere near the quality of the name brand. But there are some products out there that you can switch out. Look in the aisles of your supermarket and see those products in which you can switch out. The ones that I always refer to are things like flour. You know, if you have a supermarket brand and they have just basic white flour, then that's the same flour as the one that has the name brand. I mean, the supermarket doesn't have its own mill. So when you look at those type of things, then you are able to save some money by using the store-bought brand. Number two, and this one has the potential to actually save quite a bit of money on your supermarket bill, especially if you live on a small island, the Caribbean, or pretty much any small island, regardless of where it is. And that is to buy different cuts of meat. You may have in your head, I want chicken wings, I want thighs, I want XYZ. And something that people don't always look at is to see the price per kg or the price per unit when they're buying meats. You'd be surprised that a whole chicken may be, let's say, at $5 a kg or whatever the weights it's being sold in. And when you look at a chicken which has been cut up, that then goes to $7. When you look at buying specific parts, like let's say you just only want the thighs, that may go to $9. If you want it without the bone for the thigh, that may be just $10. So once you start to realize that different cuts of meats and different types of meats have different prices, then you're better able to use or to be able to buy those ones that actually fit into your budget. Yes, sometimes it's a bit more work because it's just easy to get the chicken if it's just already cut up. It's just probably easier to get it if it's already seasoned. And I know once you come back from some of those conveniences, then it's more work that you have to do at home, but it's also you saving a lot more money. If it's just for one individual person, you may be like, it's not worth my time. But if you're doing this for a whole family, you have a large family, then you really want to pay attention to the cost of the different types of meats and the different cuts of meats. Tip number 3, buy in season. And this could be either when you're buying from the farmer because they have excess amounts, or this could be even when you're buying from the supermarket and they have particular produce that are on sale. And I know that there are some places where persons are saying things go on sale in the supermarket. Yes, things do go on sale. Not a whole lot in the Caribbean, but things do go on sale. And if you have those type of products, let's say they have tomatoes that are on sale. I know when I lived in one of the other islands, tomatoes, the lowest price that you would get them for was like $1.99 per bunch or per vine. And I knew that that was the lowest price. So whenever I would see them at that price, I would buy extra amounts, blanch them, freeze them, and then you have tomatoes readily in your freezer for whatever dish you want. Buy your produce, preserve them in whatever way you're doing it, whether it's freezing them or whether you're going to dehydrate them, but find different methods in which you can store them to use at a later date. Number 4, pay attention to the basket of goods. And this is one specifically for Caribbean persons because I don't know that there's a basket of goods outside, let's say in the US or the UK. But in the smaller islands of the Caribbean, especially, there is what they call a basket for goods. And it is pretty much a group of food that the authorities have deemed are necessary or basics for human consumption or for people to survive. So what they have done is that they've either reduced the taxes or there are zero taxes or no taxes at all on that basket of goods. And it would be for your basic things like potatoes, rice, vegetables. There are some countries that have now included a few gluten-free or a few of those type of specialty type foods. There are some that are still not on board, but you get the idea of what a basket of goods look like. So when you get your supermarket bill the next time, go through it and look at it and see which items you've purchased which they don't have any taxes attached to it, like there's no VAT or any duties. And that will tell you that those items are within the basket of goods. Now you can also see the items that you have purchased that don't fall into that category. And a lot of times those things that you have purchased that wouldn't fall into those categories are either going to be specialty items. As I said, like if you're gluten-free or vegan, there are not a lot of options in that category, or it's processed food. So things like your cereal, things that have the extra sugar tax attached to them, or those foods that just aren't really good for you. So that gives you an idea not only in terms of what you're consuming as a nutritional value, but it also gives you an idea of what you're spending money on in terms of those things that fall out of the basket of goods. It's a good way for you to actually look to see, you know what, I can stop buying these particular items because they're really not good in value, number one, in terms of nutritional value, and they're also not good in terms of financial value. So pay attention to your basket of goods. Cut out the processed foods. As I said, I know this is weird for the Caribbean people, and processed food is very expensive here. When you're looking at things like your cereal, your chicken nuggets, waffles, and those type of things, they cost a lot more than what you would pay for the foods that are falling within the basket of goods. Tip number 5, make your own cleaning solutions. Most of them either have ammonia or they have bleach as the main ingredient. And once you figure out that, then you realize that pretty much they're all the same. It's just a difference in terms of how much of something one particular product have in, and also the different scents and fragrances that they add to them. But once you realize that, then you can stop spending money on a lot of these expensive cleaning solutions. And also because a lot of them are not good for your health, they contain a lot of toxic things, and they're also not good for the environment. I will say that your best bet is to buy a big bottle of vinegar and look on the internet, Google a recipe, and use that for whatever solutions you need for your home. You can actually make up a cleaning solution that works, is non-toxic, and is also very cheap compared with store-bought products. Tip number 6, buy those non-perishable things or items that you need in bulk. And I'm speaking about things like your toilet paper, like the same vinegar, like hand towel, even as it relates to female products and those type of products. Buy them in as bulk as you can. Obviously, it reduces the cost per unit. I'm just going to say that make certain that you're not using twice as much because you know that you have. And sometimes that is something that happens when we don't really think about it. Like that you have hand towels that will probably last you for the next 3-4 months. So because of that, you're kind of reckless in how you use it. But make certain that you're not using it a little more reckless just because you know that you have a lot on hand. But obviously, if you do buy them in bulk, the price per unit is a lot better than if you're buying these individually. And again, depending on your financial situation, it may not be a case where you can just go out tomorrow and buy these things in bulk. It may actually be a case where you have to work your way up there, where you're buying a few more every time you go to keep a stock, so then that you can actually get to the point then where you can embark on buying them bulk. Or it may be a scenario where you have to set aside a bit of money every week or every month until you have enough money that you can say, okay, I now have enough that I can buy a 6 months stock of XYZ and know that I have these there for that particular amount of time, but also know that I'm getting them at a better price. So it isn't always something that you can do like right away, but it's something that you can work your way up towards. And the next tip is to meal plan. And this is one that's actually very important. If you're meal planning, it means that when you go to the supermarket, you're only buying those particular items that you know that you need. Number one, how you're saving money is that you're going to be checking your cupboards and your fridge before you actually go to the supermarket. So there's no possibility of you buying items that you already have. And also, you're able to see if you have items that you need to use. So once you get to the supermarket, you know, I've created my meals already, because you've created your meals based on the fact that you have some produce or some fruit that you need to use up within the next few days. If not, it will spoil. So when you go to the supermarket, you're only filling in the gaps, so you're only buying the things that you know you need based on the meal plan that you have already set out for the week. And that tip can actually save you quite a bit of money, because sometimes people get to the supermarket and they're saying, oh, I could get this or I could do this. Maybe if I cook this, and you're just buying items free will and not really knowing exactly what you plan to cook. So the week may actually pass and half of those things are still sitting down there. You didn't end up cooking meals where you've used half of the items or produce that you actually bought. And the next tip would be to look for markdowns. Again, I know it's not something that you see in Caribbean supermarkets very often, but I know it's something that you see in the wider outside, where they're either whether there's produce or even canned stuff or whatever that they have marked down. This is an opportunity for you to get some of these items at really good prices. Like I know in the UK, most of the UK supermarkets will start to mark down some of their perishable food at 7 o'clock or at night, or a specific time at night. And once you get into the habit of understanding what time it happens, then you know what time you can ease into the supermarket and get things for really cheap. And I mean, like, they get a whole chicken for like £1 and less than that, or some other type of perishable foods that would have normally be 3-4 times the amount. Even if it's not that scenario, sometimes supermarkets will also have meat. Like I used to do this a lot in Bermuda with fresh turkey mince. And they mark it down. After it's been out there for 2 days or so in the fresh section, they will mark it down. And I mean to, like, sometimes it's half price or less than half price. And I will buy a few trays of that and put it in the freezer. Because they've marked it down when it came from the fresh section, it doesn't mean that it spoils, or it doesn't mean that it's out of date. So you can actually take that and freeze it and still continue to use it, and it will be quite fine. So these are different tips or different tricks that you will want to understand how your supermarket works and how you can make it work for you. Tip number 9, stop buying condiments. Yes, I said that. Condiments are getting expensive, or I guess they were probably always expensive. And again, just like cleaning supplies, they're very easy to make at home. And some of them actually use the same main ingredients. Condiments like maybe your mayonnaise or your ketchup or base, even your mayonnaise and ketchup are things that you can make at home. But once you have basic ingredients, there are a lot of things like, let's say, salad dressing that you don't need to buy. Because whatever salad dressing it is that you do like, I'm sure you actually have the ingredients in your house. So stop buying those expensive salad dressings, stop buying those expensive condiments, and actually make your own. It's far better for you. They taste way better. And the thing with condiments, especially salad dressings, is that when you purchase them, you would realize that they have a very short expiration date on them. It doesn't make sense buying them in very large quantities unless you really have a big family to go through them. And it really just makes more financial sense to make them yourself. Tip number 10, wastage. And this goes back to going to the supermarket, not knowing exactly what you plan to cook during the week and just buying food. And a lot of times you end up then with wastage. I think one of the biggest financial costs attached to food is really wastage. And it's shocking to see how much wastage that even with food this expensive, how much wastage actually happens in different parts of the world every day. And yes, there are parts of the world where people don't have enough food to live. And there are parts of the world that there's a lot of wastage from food. because people buy food and just don't get around to eating it. They buy food and just don't get around to cooking it. And unfortunately, because of the way food is now shipped around the world, when you get this food, especially when you live on small islands and you get imported food, the expiration dates for some of them are very close. I mean, some of this food actually don't last very long because it's taken such a long time to get to its final destination. So you want to make certain that you're not wasting food by buying more than you really need, and that when you actually do buy it, you have planned to cook a specific meal so to make certain that you actually use it up. Tip number 11, I'm going to say the dreaded word again, budget. You must have a food budget. Whether it's weekly or whether it is monthly, you must know how much your food is going to cost you. When you do your budget, you know how much you're going to allocate for food. And depending on where you live, your food budget actually takes up a large portion of your overall budget. And you want to make certain that you're getting bang for your buck. When you go into the supermarket every week, or every month, you should know how much money you're going into the supermarket with. You have an idea that this is $100 I have, or I'm doing my big monthly shopping, I have $300, I have $400, that's my budget. You have an idea of what you're going to pick up, and the best thing to do is to keep a little mental tally of how much you are up to at any point in time while you're shopping. If you have a little one with you, give them a calculator, give them a pen and piece of paper, and give them it as a little fun thing to do, but to keep a little mental tally. Because you don't want to get to the supermarket cashier and then realize you have more items than you can actually pay for. Or it's a situation where you go ahead and decide, okay, I'm here already and I have all of them, but now you've walked out to the supermarket knowing that you're $100 over budget. So make certain that you have a budget before you go into the supermarket, and make certain that you keep a tally on it while you're in the supermarket. Also, you can rate this out monthly. If you do one big shop and you know that big shop is $300 or $400, then you know, okay, I'm going to go back into the supermarket every 2 weeks or every week just to be able to pick up the perishable stuff, whether they're fruits, vegetables, or milk. And know when I go in, I'm going in with $40. And if it's a case where you feel that you cannot go in and come up with that $40, then I'll suggest leaving your cards at home or leaving them in the car, secured of course, and walk into the supermarket with that $40 in cash so you cannot spend more than that $40. There are different ways in which you can keep yourself on track with the supermarket budget, but you must set a budget before you start out. And the final tip that I'm going to share is to make certain that if you're using cards, that you have cards that work for you, or that you belong to a loyalty program if it is a supermarket that you frequent a lot. You'd be surprised that at the end of a year or how much ever period of time have passed, you may be able to get half your groceries free or a whole month groceries free from your activities during the year. So if you have a cashback card, you have a loyalty card from your supermarket, or you have one of those cards where you earn airplane miles, then go ahead and use it. I've spoken about this in my book. I've also spoken about this in other several videos where you use your credit card responsible. You get the benefits of using it, whether it's cashback or whether it's airplane miles, and you pay off for it because these are things that you had within your budget. If you're doing something like that, then you're going to get added benefits from buying groceries. And there are persons who do this all the time. They have picked up enough rewards during the year to actually pay for the extra things that they're going to pick up at the holiday season. I hope these tips were helpful to you, and I hope that it helps you keep afloat with the ever-rising supermarket costs. If these are tips that you've already implemented, tell me how it's going for you. And if you have any other ones that you're currently using, please do share in the comments. Thank you for watching.